What's going on, everybody? Kyle and Maggie, thanks for joining me today. We're talking everything Dillas. I want to frame what I see first, and then if the two of you want to give kind of the state of the union, that'd be super beneficial. I had the benefit of doing one of our franchise assessments, which what we do as a business on the 1851 side is we're looking at the viability of the franchise opportunity. And there are some businesses that have a lot of work to do. It doesn't mean they're not a good franchise. It just means there's a lot of work to do. And then there's these ones where you start looking underneath the sheets. I don't even know if you're allowed to say that anymore. But and you see that there is a really well-engineered business here. And so if I were to zoom out of restaurant franchising and even narrow it down to QSRs, I would put Dillas at the front of the path on how it's been engineered. And this is from the operations side. And Kyle, that obviously is part of your background, which I would love you to share some of that. And then into how the business actually executes. And then the volumes end up being almost the scorecard of what indicates there's actually a really good business behind here. And so I saw that. Now, to the outside world, if you are watching this live or you're watching this recorded, what I'm doing is I'm encouraging you on your own to go look at this business. I'm saying you have to buy it. I'm saying you should go look at it if you are indeed looking at getting into food and getting into franchising, because sometimes the whole story can't be disclosed on a website or in PR. And so I had a wonderful time looking at this business, pleasantly surprised at the things that I saw. Also knew that we have to have some of these conversations in order to open up the opportunity so people can actually hear what's behind it. So that's my opening. Kyle or Maggie, I don't care who goes first, but who wants to give state of the business, what's going on from your perspective?
Yeah, I'll let Maggie talk on it really briefly on the state of the business. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, so we have been in business now for 12 years. We just had our 12-year anniversary. So we opened at the end of 2013. We started with company stores, just slow and steady growth, really methodical, listening to customers, making changes along the way. So at this point, we've got 6 company stores in the DFW market. We have one franchisee that has 5 stores, so 11 total. He is in Louisiana and East Texas. He's been a great partner of ours, and we're super excited to dive deeper into the franchise side of the business. We've got a lot of power behind that this year, and we can't wait to get new partners.
Yeah, and I mean, the only thing I'll add is that like 2025 for us was a lot of foundational work, right? Like we had done 11 years of foundational work on just operating company on locations and supporting our single franchisee. But last year it was like we simplified the menu. We brought on a new franchise development person who has tremendous experience in the industry. We upgraded in the marketing department to like really be focused on how we can grow into franchising. We put in place some really strategic things from a purchasing perspective that really helped the operations. So like it was really about like streamlining.
Tool,
yeah,
right? Like we did a lot in the back of house as well to make the operation as simple as possible for our team to execute very consistently and quickly for our customers.
Yeah, we knew if we were going to hit our goals for growth, the box needed to be refined one level extra. And so 2025 was really about that. So now we're kind of launching into not only continuing our company-owned growth, we still plan on opening locations, at least one this year. And then beyond that, really expanding quickly and finding the right people to partner with to really grow Dillas to be, our vision is to be the brand for primo quesadilla meals. So like that's very big. And we know that we're going to need some help to be able to achieve that vision.
So a few things I want to break out from what you guys just said. Thanks for that opening.
Sure.
What caused that we're going to spend 2025 just tightening things up? Because obviously, like, you've built a tremendous business, and any business, especially in food, that can have scaled and hit a 10-year mark before that tightening up or optimizing, you're already doing a lot of things, right? What was it that made you say, let's go back to the drawing board and just like tweak things slightly for franchising?
I love this question.
I know, this is Kyle's favorite.
So I grew up in operations, right? So like graduated from UT, got a job at Raising Cane's, worked there for 7 years, and then started Dillas, right? And so operation refinement is like my jam, in training. And so when we were looking at everything and we were looking at the feedback, we always start with the customer, right? Like it's not necessarily about our franchise customer. It's more about like the customer at the unit level at this point. And we were having we didn't have the accuracy where we wanted it. Like, we're in the high 90s, but like we wanted to be known for accuracy, right? And then on our speed of service, it was not good enough, and if we wanted to be the best in the world at quality convenience, I was like, well, we can't do that with these, mid 4-minute drive-through times. Like we got to get down to like the high 3s on average. And so that is what it was all about, going to the operators and say, hey guys, these are the goals. Like this is where we need to be. How are we going to be able to achieve that? And they were like, well, you got to get us this chicken product that we can save time on to be able to put people on the line faster. And you got to be able to do this thing with the brisket. And what we really need is to simplify the menu a little bit. The customers are having an issue being able to order fast enough. And we're having to walk through a lot of different things. And so streamlining all of that stuff, that it was like,
I would say not only to hit the metrics, but we hit like a glass ceiling a little bit, like we felt like we couldn't push through.
Yeah, it was like little things would break here and there because of some of those. It doesn't seem complicated because all we sell is quesadillas, but like there were still a couple things that were gonna stop us from achieving the throughput and the long-term AUVs that we knew we could unlock. And we wanted to make that decision now while we're relatively small before we, it's easier to do at a $20 million level than it is to do at a $200 million level. And so we're like, let's do it, because now that we have this locked in, we don't need to change much. I mean, there's just not a lot that we need to tweak at this point.
Do you feel some of the magic, and this is giving credit to now a non-franchise, but some of the magic is because of your experience at Cane's? Like, did they nail operations so at least you have a blueprint that you're following, or would this be completely different had you not had that experience at Cane's? Like, does that turn into a value here?
Well, I think that in the beginning, after coming from Raising Cane's and wanting to be extremely focused, we're a unique brand, right? Like we're not Raising Cane's, we are one of one, like we're the only quesadilla QSR, like we've got the highest AUVs in that category. Like we're kind of that unicorn. And what that means is that there's amazing space to be successful here. It's unique. It gets lots of trial from customers. But what we didn't necessarily have was like this, big brand awareness or anything else. And so we tried to go super simple at the very beginning. And what the customer feedback was, well, you need chips and queso. You need this, you need this. And so we kind of allowed it to grow a little bit. And then like it got big enough to where we said, okay, now we need to refine that back, trim it back to like what, we've learned over these X number of years. I will say that Raising Cane's, it did absolutely teach me operational efficiency and throughput. But the biggest takeaways that I took from there were more about community involvement and culture, and how those things resonate to your marketing and, those soft skills that grow sales, not just we're going to sell chicken fingers as fast as we humanly can. We could sell quesadillas faster than we do if we sacrifice some of the things that we do on the service side, and we're not willing to do that. Mm-hmm. So it all has to work in unison. So I will say that absolutely it was an advantage coming from there, and being able to apply some concepts. But then, Dillas is its own beast. I've hired people from Raising Cane's and like, this is different. It's not like you've got more fresh product. You've got vegetables. You've got different things that apply to a different customer base. And so we wanted it to be a little bit more broad overall for the type of customer we could attract. So that's a long answer to a short question.
All right. So a follow up to that, and whoever wants, or you both just answer any of the questions that I ask.
Yeah.
So one, what's your reported AUV right now?
We're currently right at 2 million in the current FTD.
Okay. So one thing that I just heard, and gonna try framing this because there's a reason I'm asking this. I was looking at a brand doing actually another franchise assessment this week, and I looked at the performance of one unit that was north of $2 million and one that wasn't. I looked at the marketing spend, and given cash isn't necessarily the magic part of what I'm going to say, but there was a $50,000 variance, which equaled a $200,000 impact. And what I was seeing, that was the only line item that was different on the two stores between a $2 million store and a $1.8 million store. And so what I just heard there is it wasn't necessarily the operational side. Like I learned it, but I also learned how to get ingrained with the community.
Yeah.
And so not that you're going to have this answer, but because of your approach to community, to being involved, to being connected, like, does that take a category like this, a Dillas, from a 1, 2, or 3 to a 2 million? Like, because you're able to engineer the fact that we're not just food, we actually have purpose. Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. It's really how we built the business, right? Like, I mean, when we opened the first one, we didn't have a marketing budget. And so we knew the product was high quality, delicious, craveable. So all we had to do was get it in people's mouths. So we were at every school event. We would stand out in front of the football field and hand out, free limeade samples or little samples of chips and salsa, anything to just get it in someone's mouth. And that organic growth happens when you just start getting people to try it. Trial's like the biggest piece, right? And then they've got to talk about it. So you've got to deliver on the unique, extreme experience that is going to be craveable and delicious to have them, number one, come back and tell someone else about it. And that's just like how we started from number one. And we've continued that. I mean, we have bigger marketing budgets now than we did back then, but it's still the number one focus of our marketing is LSM. Like the local store marketing and community involvement is so critical.
Super critical, and building relationships. And, what I'll say about it is that, those early days when you're trying to drive trial and you're trying to get the feedback and you're trying to be involved in the community, like our purpose has transitioned into building community through Primo Quesadilla meals, right? And I think that early on, we made the decision not to say, who are we going to target, but to change that to who are we going to help, right? Mm-hmm. And when you go in with that mindset to these relationships and you walk into school and you say, hey, how can we help? Oh, well, we need food for this, or we need prizes for the teachers. And you can kind of like build this community, and then that community ends up actually building the community inside your restaurant, right? And so it's kind of twofold, or it has become like kind of a twofold thing, where the communities inside of our restaurant are just as important, because at the end of the day, our amazing team members are serving those customers who are coming back. They're making those genuine relationships and connections. And this is a relatively simple business, right? It's basically somebody comes in, they have a good experience, and they tell a friend, and that friend comes in and they tell a friend. And I mean, it's word of mouth marketing is the best form of marketing. And like we've really leaned on that heavily, and just really try to be involved in the community in a lot of different aspects.
I think the other piece of that, the last piece of it, is just that it's creating trust in the community. They know if they reach out to Dillas, like we're there for them, we're going to make it easy. We're not like, we're always going to find a yes, like to be a part of whatever their ask is, so it's that, like Kyle said, the relationship, but building a trust. They know they can rely on us.
For sure.
I have it's not an odd question. I always put the prefaces on what I want to get to. So the category, like if let's go. I'm going to go with hot chicken. If you hear that there's brands in hot chicken doing north of $2 million, what happens? There's a million other brands that are created in the category.
Sure.
It's almost like I want to put my finger up to like don't say these things, but like you've clearly mastered what should be the next category, and even if I go into the complexities of it, such as food cost. I mean, you're in essence making a sandwich in the way that it's constructed, cheese and meat and veggies and bread, right? So why has nobody else done this yet? Or what is the moat that you're building around the brand that's going to prevent someone from from maybe it will take them 10 years to figure this thing out.
Yeah, I'll give you kind of like my insights on it. And so again, going way back to when I was a kid growing up, all I ate was quesadillas and chicken fingers. So I'm like a natural for this business. And so, I knew that the quesadilla had broad appeal. Like that's a big thing. Like there's also 1,000 other products that haven't scaled up, like like a only kebab place. You know what I mean? Oh, why not? Like, well, it doesn't really maybe have the broad appeal that you need. And the quesadilla lends itself to being a vehicle for convenience also. And so, like, I think that there have been some other places that have kind of popped up, and what they've focused on, I thought, was the wrong thing. And they focused on like these really big quesadillas that were like, either done in a press, or like they focused on like the delivery aspect. They couldn't do them fast. Yeah. And so I was like, well, I know how to flow cook because I've been trained on that for 7 years. And so how do I apply flow cooking to this convenient product? And you can't do it if you try to trick it up, right? Like you can't offer a tomato basil tortilla. You can't offer 3 different sizes of a tomato basil tortilla. You can't offer spinach tortillas. You got to offer 1 tortilla, right? And then we have a mega tortilla, but those are for our catering. They're more or less ordered. But like 85%, 90% of the tortillas that are hitting the grill are only one size. They get the same amount of cheese on them, and we're flow cooking quesadillas, right? And so that unlock allows us to have a drive-thru, and our drive-thru is 50% of our business. So it takes a business, maybe another quesadilla guy opened and he was doing 800,000, and he's like, this ain't worth it. But then we did it, slapped the drive-thru onto it, and a $2 million restaurant happens, and we can put hundreds of cars through the drive-thru because of the kind of unique process that we've built around the quesadilla and what we serve.
We'll give it 1 second to see if our unfreezing happens. This happens live sometimes. So,
okay, there we're back.
You're almost back. There you are. I was going to take over for you, Kyle. You're back.
Well, the one thing I'll add.
Did I end with extremely well? I don't know where I finished up on that.
I mean, extremely well sounds really good. I mean, you're making the point that what you engineered is fast. The process of cooking to make sure that it's in line with getting the customer what they want, and then how you approached it, and really that's how you set up the moat. Which what I'm also hearing is, for someone you could do it, you would have to hire it would be tough. You would have to hire people that aren't full of shit.
Yeah.
Come in and be like, here's how we can do it. But it's like you have built the moat. And one thing I want to say, just a comment, is you said this, because you said this is engineered for you because you love chicken tenders and quesadillas as a kid. It's interesting they say that. Like if I really evaluate children and seniors on what they eat, you look at the bookends, they're pretty much the same. And for whatever reason, we're like, as adults, we're like trained that we have to eat asparagus, but we really eat chicken tenders and quesadillas. So you have a universal product that speaks to every customer.
I think the other piece about it that makes it so universal, because I mean, let's be honest, we've never met anyone that doesn't, like, when we say we have a quesadilla restaurant, they're like, I love quesadillas. Like, who doesn't love quesadillas, right? It's the first comment. Yeah. But it's also, to Kyle's point, a vehicle. And we have the versatility to be able to pivot at any point. So number one, we have like American favorite flavors that are comforting and very common to anyone in the US and beyond, right? Like traditional flavors that aren't all Mexican. So by diverting away from the Mexican flavor, it opens it up to anyone as like more of a comfort food flavor. And if something happens in the future, let's say, the Lyme disease kills all the cows, well, we can pivot and use tofu in it. You can put anything inside the quesadilla vehicle. So it allows us that nimble flexibility to be able to do what we need to do as markets change.
Yeah, we've got a vegan quesadilla, we've got a vegetarian quesadilla, all with the same product SKUs, that are kind of already on the line. And like Maggie and I and the team members, I think a really big piece of like what I love inside the restaurants is there's pride, right? You can't get pride popping open a bag of something and pouring it in, right? You haven't built something. And so our teams who are kind of making the fresh salsa, making the fresh jalapeno ranch, grilling the chicken, grilling the zucchini, grilling like, these things like bring a level of pride that is tasteable, right? And tasteable pride turns into craveability, and those turn into repeat customers. And the other thing that we're extremely proud about from a, just from a business perspective is that our busiest restaurant is in South Shreveport. You know what I mean? Like we're not only in one state. It's not like, oh, the founders, like they just worked their butt off and sold a bunch of quesadillas in Plano. Like, no, like we have 6 locations here in Plano. We're or Dallas, and super proud of those, but we're just as proud of the fact that it travels. Like we're like when we opened in Shreveport, we're like, wow, I mean, we might have something here. Yeah, like this might translate to a lot of different markets, and so that really got us excited because I think that we're just at the tip of the iceberg on the potential. Like, we've made the investment in these kind of 11 6Rs and 5 Prima restaurant groups to like be the kind of like the proving ground to be able to launch a really like sustainable growth platform with Dillas, because we've done all the different real estate. Like we've made the mistakes, we've done this, we've signed new leases after we've had expired. Like we're not in year 1 where it's like, oh, I don't know, maybe we shouldn't do that. Like it's like, no, like we've pretty much built every prototype, have prototype designs, have talked to different manufacturers. Like we've got a lot of experience in it. And I think that sometimes that's why the franchise business gets a bad name, is because people rush into it, right? They don't like build an amazing business and say, let's be selective and bring people in who we want to be successful with. They kind of like just are like, oh, we're going to create something, prove it success in kind of a bottle, and then just go sell it and let it go wherever it wants without an operational foundation, which is what I'm like very proud of.
All right, I'm going to tell you what the question that I'm going to ask, but I'm going to frame it like I always do. So the question is still, are you surprised by this being still a secret? That this should, I mean, in my opinion, this should be in every person that's looking at QSR brands, especially if they're looking at one that's already sold out and they start going down the line and saying, well, what else can I buy in a category? Should be looking at this. But here's my framing statement. Think of like we're a mutual friend group of ours, Lane's Chicken. Well, if you read the news on them, they are exploding right now. Well, they're well over. They're old. They've been around forever.
Yeah, 20 years.
Yeah.
Right. I think about and this is a long time ago, but I remember when Five Guys is exploding. My favorite question to ask, and this is going back to like 2007 and 2008. It's like, how old do you think Five Guys is? They're like, well, this was an overnight success. It's an emerging brand. I go, no, like 1984. It's a 20-year-old brand.
Oh yeah.
We found its groove, and so from my standpoint, it's yes, it's a kept secret, and I'm going to oversimplify. There's not a loud drumbeat around the category because there is nobody else, and you've really your return investment back into the business was, let's continue to fine tune it or operationalize it versus creating all this marketing noise out there. So you haven't overinvested in the space. So I'm oversimplifying by saying it could just be a drumbeat thing that as soon as you crack the code of people saying, oh wait, $2 million on quesadillas? How and why and what? I'm oversimplifying what I think the answer is, but what do you think it is? Why are people not banging on the door in a crazy way currently for what you've engineered?
Well, I mean, I've got my own answer. Maybe Maggie has hers as well. I'm going to go to the fact that really quickly, you're right. In terms of we've been working on it, and we want to be, Maggie and I like have our integrity is higher than the camera, right? Can really pan up, right? So we wanted to be extremely confident in the product that we were going to be able to put out there. And so just blatantly, honestly, we haven't worked on marketing it to a franchise community. Like we didn't want to put it out there, like we wanted to, guard it and perfect it. So when it was, like you're saying, we could have a very deep moat around it. Like it's like it would be extremely difficult to replicate it and after we came into market and after we started going into new markets with the right people. So I think that's a big piece of it. Now it's ready. And the other thing is like, I think that a lot of people told Todd Graves he was crazy when he just did chicken fingers, like, and some things take time. And I think that the kind of the segment that we're in terms of quesadillas, like, I think you saw it a little bit maybe 10 years ago with tacos, right? Like you saw Velvet Taco and then Torchy's Tacos did it, went crazy with private equity money and all this type of stuff. And so I think that when people ask about who our competition is, I often tell them, like, they're expecting me to say Chipotle or Torchy's or something like this. And I don't. Like I say, like, it's the same customer seeking quality convenience, right? And to me, the places that I go that fit that bill are maybe a Raising Cane's, a Chick-fil-A, an In-N-Out. Like the places that are like, we do one thing amazingly, we have great culture and we don't sacrifice on it. The service is going to be strong and we really stand behind our quality product and you can get it quickly, right? And so those are the types of people that I admire in the industry that we're trying to be like. They all happen to be billion-dollar brands. But, like I think there's a reason that they've been able to achieve that. So
and I don't think any of them were overnight successes, though. That's the thing. It's about deliberate, growth and planning in a meaningful way that we know we can sustain the growth and support that growth around us. I think Kyle and I are also like, we are, as he said, high integrity, but I think we're also a little bit humble. Like we're not showboaters of our business, but we are proud of what we've built and finding the people that see that and value, what we have in place, I think is who we're looking for. And there's certainly a factor of like what you talked about of just like, okay, we've got to just maybe be a little bit outside of our shell and like be really proud and like, stand on a hill and start yelling about Dillas.
And again, like I do think that there, probably will be competition down the road, maybe that do it a little bit differently. I don't know. But what I do know and, is that it is very difficult to duplicate something that is authentic. We have authenticity, right? Like, so good luck. You know what I mean? Like, and when you're built and you have great leadership, and you care about people first, like those things are going to kind of culture each strategy for breakfast, is a great quote that I kind of live by. And so I think that that's what keeps you strong during, times that the tailwinds aren't in your sales. You know what I mean? Like you're in the doldrums. Like what shows up then is like the people, right? And the leadership and, how you've supported people through the years, like we're not a transactional type of relationship. So, all those things, I think, feed into your question. But, as we really start to emerge, as we really start popping up in new markets, I won't be surprised, if somebody kind of pops up and wants to put a different type of spin on it. It might be kind of, Velvet and Torchy's aren't the same thing, but they kind of are, so like that's kind of how I imagine it would happen. Maybe somebody comes out with a quesadilla place that's like,
international
lobster,
like
lobster is stuck in there or whatever, like, and really tries to focus on it like we do. But we're confident in it. We do it in a really authentic way and we've got great people. So
the secret still could be like, let's just say, I'll even go larger. Let's just say the cap on a quesadilla brand is 1.5. Let's just say that's it. But because of what you've engineered on the local store marketing side, it pushes it over 2 because a customer could eat anywhere, but they like eating at you because they can see what you contribute to a community. If I go to like the number one miss on franchise brands is the brand doesn't know how to build a blueprint for local store marketing. They say spend 2%, but there's no blueprint. I may have said this to you guys in the past, but one of my favorite stories, I was at 2 Men in a Truck conference and they put their top 3 franchisees on stage, and number 2 or 3 had come from like middle of the pack, like 50 or somewhere between 50 and 100 to number 2 or 3. like overnight, 1 year.
Wow.
And they said, how did you do this? He goes, I spent 10 cents of every dollar on marketing. And the franchisee next to me jazzed me on the side. He goes, that guy's an idiot. I'm like, he's on stage. What are you talking about? But I think that might actually be part of the magic. Because like once you've nailed operations of how you deliver a product with a product that is flavorful and craveable, now that gets you up to a certain volume. And then that point of differentiation is what can an owner operator do in the community? And obviously in selecting your first franchisee, you made sure that they could do the similar thing. And I think that's going to be part of the magic. I'm just curious, does it keep you up at night though? Like, are you not stressed, and not even anxious? It's almost like eager to get to the point where people are knocking on the door because you have done everything right.
Yeah, I think so, but like we're ready for that. I think that what as you grow a brand, so Maggie and I opened this brand with a little bit of family money and we bootstrapped it, and we had a 3-year lease on our first location. And if it didn't work out, we were going to walk away in 3 years. And so now we've got a 20-year lease on that same property. And so
we're locked in.
Yeah, we're locked in. But you go through all these like rooms, I guess, that are like, you got to go through this room to unlock the next room. And some of those initial fears and things are, oh my gosh, how are we going to make payroll? Like, what's going to happen with this? And then you kind of get out of that and you're like, oh, like now we're starting to see some success. What should we work on? Well, let's refine the P&L. Let's, get the P&L faster. Let's look at all these line items. Let's save money, make more money so we can go to the bank and open another one. So we did that. And kind of like learned the how to do it. And the things that keep you up at night during those things are team member issues or a GM quitting, and so you've got to get out of location and put a buffer between you and the operations with an area leader. So there's all these steps along the way. And so in terms of like what keeps me up at night, I sleep very soundly, right? Because at the end of the day, like we have amazing company-owned operations that support the entire needs of our business, right? And so franchising, we get to be very selective because we've been so patient, right? And so we get to have amazing conversations with no desperation. Like it's like we get to like choose great operators who care about their community. Like how lucky are we? And so like there's definitely no angst for me because I'm willing to go slow. Like we've opened 1 unit per year essentially. Like as you can see, like we're in no rush. We do things the right way. And I think that we can absolutely throw the throttle down because what Maggie and I have learned along the way, it's really a who problem in terms of the scale. Like we're gonna tie ourselves to extremely capable leaders to be able to achieve those things, to fill out the departments that start getting strained. And we're going to continue to invest in it. This is a legacy brand for us. Like we've got a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old who want to work at Dillas. And so like we're excited to build that for them. And so I sleep very well.
Well, I would say that going back to being humble, we also know what we don't know, to Kyle's point a little bit, right? So like, I think, if I had anxiety around anything, it's like, the chicken before the egg and like how we're going to sidestep as we grow this and sign on new partners and bring the right people in. So it's anxiety, but excitement at the same time, because I can't wait to work with like new leaders and like their experience, what they can bring to Dillas and just help us grow the brand. And we just are excited to have a really passionate team to support our franchisees.
And there's nothing like an NRO. A lot of like what happened, like, so we had like a $70,000 opening week in Forney. And like, I went into the kitchen. I think I've told this story before, but I'm looking around, it's freaking chaos, right? Like I thought I got dropped into like a gunfight, I'm like, oh my God, what is this? What's that kid doing over there? Like you can imagine in your head, like, raw chicken here, smoker billowing out over here. And I'm like, I look around, I'm like, if we're going to do 70 a week every week, that has to get fixed. That has to get fixed. That has to get fixed. And so like, that's when we kind of like, circled ranks and like made sure that those things were going to get tweaked for the long-term growth. But now like I'm super excited to be able to apply our blueprint to new openings, right? Like, because we have this great architect who's ready to roll, and we've got this equipment team who's freaking amazing.
Yeah.
And so like the joy for me is that ribbon cutting moment for when we've opened two this past year with Pete, because it's like you see the line start rolling up, people lining up out the door, the drive-thru line is popping, like you just know that it's going to be an impact on that community. You've made an impact on the community through the tax base because you've hired 35 new team members. Like, it's just an incredible thing. And I cannot wait to share that moment with people who maybe have already opened a restaurant or it's their first one. Like, that's where I get like the goosebump stuff.
And that's where probably the anxiety is. It's not whether you can sleep at night. It's like, you have something that could do similar for another family that wants to build something special, legacy and wealth. And so that, it's like, all right, I'm excited to do this again. But again, and I want to close with this statement. Then any closing thoughts from you guys? Great. Operation check. Name, like, take Canes. We'll just go back to Canes. What is Canes? And you know what Dillas is. I mean, it's pretty easy to know what a Dillas is.
That's part of our Moat.
But that ends up being part, like, it's sometimes overlooked. And look, I could do the same with us. Like, what is 1851? What is mainland? Nobody knows. I got to tell the story behind it. It gives you a leg up. And then the next step in there was proof of concept outside a state where there's no brand awareness. Well, it works. And so you did all these things, and obviously you're going to continue to fine tune them. You're going to see an opening. You're going to say, here are the things that I want to fix. But there aren't many startup brands that are over 10 years old that have all of these foundational elements. And it's interesting to me. You look at franchise buyers, sometimes not very intelligent in this, but they're like, ooh, shiny thing, let me go buy it. And it's like, well, wait a second. There is no foundation. And so that's where, like, again, I'm oversimplifying it. There is a drumbeat need so that when people are thinking about getting into QSR, fast casual, or even full service and saying, all right, here's how this investment compares to what I could own several billion for, it needs to be in the conversation, especially given all of the other DNA of legacy, culture, good human beings. Like, there's so much here. It is almost restaurant industry's best kept secret. So any closing thoughts before we go?
No, I don't think so. I really appreciate the conversation. A lot of fun. I mean, since Maggie and I like live it every day and have for 13 years, like we could go on for like 10 hours with no breaks. It's just our passion, like I think that like a lot of people, will come up to us at a conference and be like, oh my gosh, like you guys speak so well or whatever. And it's like, it's so easy when it's your passion, and you love doing it. And you love showing up every day and you love people. And then like you kind of get to, right? Like I don't ever wake up and say I have to do anything, right? I get to go do something I'm really passionate about, something I get to continue to build, continue to offer to others and build it with them. And like, I think that that's the super exciting piece of it. And I think the best is yet to come, like I'm excited I will say, Nick, like I am tired of being an emerging brand. Like I'll just like say that, right? Like it sucks. Like we've been an emerging brand for however you designate them since 5 to 11. And I don't know what the non-emerging brand number is, but that's the number I want
to get to the tipping point, right?
Yeah, I'm ready to get to that number, whether it's 100 or whatever, where it's like, wow, that's an established brand, that's a household name. Like that's where we're trying to go.
Yeah, and I think you alluded to it a little bit. Like the really exciting thing about the franchise business, it's a completely different business, right? And like we have a new customer. Our customer is the franchisee. Mm-hmm. And so really reframing our mindset, and like I'm super excited to get to share this opportunity with other people, like you said, like to grow a business for themselves and help them along the way and provide any shortcuts and intuition we can that we learn. Because starting a business is really hard, but it is like the American dream. And so to provide that and guide someone through that process is really exciting and fulfilling.
Yeah, we've applied the servant leadership ladder to our corporate ops and to our strategy so far, and being able to apply that servant leadership to a franchise community, I think is going to be what makes us different, and it's like, oh, wow, they're not just a unique, awesome restaurant company, but look what they've been able to apply to this franchise company as well. Because there's a lot of blueprint, overlaps. Typically people who build good companies build good companies, and so we're very excited to build this franchise company with some great people.
Well, now I have one more statement to make. Your system-wide sales is what?
Well, I think we had 18, 19 million, something like that last year.
$19 million of quesadillas. Like off the top of my head, if I went fast, I would go maybe Papacitos as non-franchise and maybe Taco Bell. So as much as you want to call yourself an emerging brand, you're not. You are the leader in this space. And so I get it. Like, yes, it feels that way because of this umbrella, but don't discredit. Like, you guys have to possibly be in the top 3 quesadilla sellers in the United States with only a small footprint. That's pretty impressive. And that's where don't continue to pinch yourself on the shoulder, because that's pretty crazy.
Well, to add on to that, the top 3 or the top 3 selling things or top 2 selling things on DoorDash, either last year or 2023, I can't remember, 2024, was French fries was number 1, which is our number 1 side. Chicken quesadillas were number 2, which obviously we crush at, and then number 6 was queso. So we're
literally our meal.
Like that, like we literally are owning kind of that, most of the top of the most demanded, most craveable products for delivery and to go. So we're just super excited to be right on top of what's trending.
Well, just be quiet on that one, so nobody else listen to. They don't even know that stuff. So. Well, for Maggie and Kyle, I'm Nick. This is another episode of Meet the Franchise. I'm really excited about where Dillas is going to go. I think when we could probably play this back in a year and see the difference has been made. But I'm grateful for the relationship, and thanks for doing this, guys.
Cool.
Thanks, Nick.
Bye, Nick. See ya.